I made this instructional movie with racquetball pro Steve Strandemo in 1974 at Mel Gorham's courts in Pacific Beach, California. I started playing racquetball about 6 months earlier on these oversized concrete courts at Southwestern Junior College. Officially, racquetball courts are 20 by 20 by 40, but these were the old concrete tilt-up walls and oversized, so we generally played doubles. When it rained, we had to play in the front part of the court because the rain would come through the chain link fence and make the back floor slippery. These were concrete floors, not wood, which the indoor courts have. When I met Steve Strandemo, he was ranked number 3 on the professional tour behind Charlie Brumfield and Steve Keeley. He'd just come out with his own signature racket by Ektelon. The Strandemo racket was a copper color and much smaller than today's rackets, as you can see in this video of him and his sparring partner. Steve was originally a teacher in St. Cloud, Minnesota, but he moved to San Diego in 1973 like so many other aspiring racquetball professionals. I just happened to be living there in the Mecca of Racquetball, and it was a great opportunity for me to photograph and write about racquetball and improve my own game. Today, racquetball is played by millions of people all around the world, but back in the 1970s, not many people knew about it. It was invented in 1950 by a man named Joe Sobek in the Midwest somewhere as a great sport for winter. He cut off a tennis racket and went into the handball courts. The original rules were very similar to handball, but over the years, the Racquetball Commission has changed the rules a little bit. I used to think that I had invented the game of racquetball because I started out playing 3-wall handball in junior high, and I was pretty good at the game. I really enjoyed it, but my hands were getting very swollen. So one day when I went into Kmart to buy my Pennsylvania Pinky handball, I saw this wooden short racket, so I started playing 3-wall racquetball, and someone came up to challenge me, a high school guy, and I beat him. And so he took me out to play 4-wall, and that's how I got started on 4-wall. So here Steve is showing us the grips. In racquetball, like in tennis, you want to change your grip from forehand to backhand. It's just about a quarter of a turn. You grab the racket like you're shaking hands with a trigger finger and thumb against the third finger. That way you have more control of the whole grip. You use a lot of wrist in racquetball too. Unlike tennis, you're going to hear a wisp when you hit the ball. That's the wrist bringing the head of the racket through. Now he's switching to the backhand grip. Notice the rotation of his shoulders. So you're not just hitting the ball with your arm. That way you're going to end up with all those elbow problems and arm problems. But if you rotate at the shoulders, you're going to get a lot more power with less effort. And it's all about timing, bringing it all through together at the same time. Notice how Steve winds up, he's got his wrist cocked, and he follows through, keeping his head down and his eye on the ball. Once you've mastered the forehand and backhand kill shots, you can practice by hitting the ball up against the wall, setting up and shooting a kill shot. Steve's doing this from deep court, which is actually a little bit advanced. When you first start out, you might want to do it a little bit closer to the front wall, maybe around the service area. He drops the ball, hits it into the front wall, sets up and kills it. Do this again and again until you can do it easily, because remember, once you're in the game, you're not going to want to have to stop and think about things. It should be automatic. So it's good to get on the court by yourself and practice first. You can do the same thing with your backhand. In fact, I always recommend that you hit twice as many backhands as you do forehands, since it's a more important shot. Why is it more important? Because everybody's trying to hit the ball to your backhand. They assume that your backhand's going to be weaker than your forehand. Now Steve's demonstrating a shot to the corners that we call a pinch shot. Same thing, hit it in the front wall, set up and shoot. He's going right for the corner. Front wall, side wall, now he sets up side wall, front wall. Do this on the backhand side too. Front wall, side wall, set up, side wall, front wall. This is especially effective when your opponent is in the back of the court. By hitting the pin shot, you're keeping the shot in the front court where they are not. One of the basic strategies in racquetball is hit the ball where your opponent isn't. Now Steve's demonstrating a drive serve. Starting about center court, hit the ball low and hard, almost like a kill shot, and you're aiming it back into the back left corner. Now he's showing a Z serve. For a Z serve, you'll hit close to the corner and ricochet it the opposite wall. There's the half lob. And here's a high lob. Next, he's showing you the ceiling ball. Now, each of these strokes and shots takes many hours of practice to perfect them. So he's just going through the repertoire quickly so you get the general idea. With the ceiling ball, you want to hit the ceiling first, close to the front wall. That'll drive it deep into the court. Now, you have to vary it depending on the speed of the ball. Some balls are more lively than others. If your ceiling balls are coming up high off the back wall, they'll set up your opponent for a kill shot. So you don't want that to happen. So you'll practice on the court by yourself with your forehand and backhand, hitting the ceiling first, and then the ball comes deep. The best return for a ceiling ball is another ceiling ball. Unless, like I said, you hit it too high and hard, then it'll set up for a kill shot off the back wall. But Steve's doing a good job here, keeping the ball deep in the court, forcing his opponent to return with a defensive shot. In modern racquetball, with the ball being much faster, the ceiling ball is not as important as it used to be back in the 70s when control was the game. We used to hit ceiling ball after ceiling ball after ceiling ball, waiting for someone to make an error, and then you would capitalize on that error and go for the kill. But today there's so many good power players, you're not going to have a long ceiling rally anymore. Steve's demonstrating a backhand serve, backhand drive serve. Again, this is not a really common shot, but it's always good to have a wide spectrum of shots up your sleeve. Depends on your opponent what's going to be most effective. And you also want to have a variety so that you don't teach them to return your best shot. Just when they get good at your drive serve, you switch to something else. So yeah, you don't want to have just one good shot. Best return is going to be straight down that left wall. When you're serving and your opponent's in the back, the opponent's thought is, let's change places. They want to get you out of the service area, which is center court, and get you into the back court. Then they can move into the center court. Everybody wants to be in center court if possible, but you can't do it blindly. You have to watch the ball. You notice, I believe these players are wearing eye guards. I hope so. It's hard to see since it's a little dark and contrasty, but today it is required in all tournaments to wear eye guards. Looks like they're not, but I would never get on the court without eye protection. I even wear my eye guards when I'm teaching, just to be sure. So they're showing some rallying now. Notice how both players are vying for center court position. Center court is prime real estate in racquetball because from center court you're closest distance to all four corners. There's a drive to the backhand corner. Now Steve let himself get trapped on the wall there. Mainly you want to get into center court as soon as you can, because from center court all the shots are fairly close. When you get trapped on the wall or hang out in back court, you're too far to return the ball. Notice, yeah, they're doing a good job there of getting back into center court. He showed all those ceiling balls, but if you notice, he's not hitting any ceiling balls now. They're playing a very offensive, aggressive game there. I'm actually on the court with them. This is Mel Gorham's courthouse that has no real glass walls. So I'm on the court with them, and they're being careful to keep the ball on the right side of the court so I don't get hit. I believe this sparring partner's name is Pete. I don't remember him well, but the pros never really played much with each other because they didn't want to give away all their secrets. So they would find a really good A player who would be fast and fairly smart and accurate to keep them in shape and to play several hours a day. To a beginner, this 20 by 20 by 40 foot court may seem too small for more than 2 players. In fact, for absolute beginners, it's even crowded with 2 players, and they may get hit a lot because they're not watching the ball and moving out of the way. But as you get more skilled at racquetball, it's almost like a choreography where each player is rotating in and out of center court. But it's fun to play with 3 and 4 people. There's a few ways to play 3. One is called Cutthroat, and that's when all 3 players are playing at all times, but you rotate being server. If the server wins the rally, they keep serving. Once they lose, they rotate out and the next person rotates in. They keep serving as long as they're winning, and each person keeps their own score. Another way to play with 3 people, which is the least popular, is 1-on-2, and that would be when there's clearly one player who's much better than the other 2. Then that person could stand the other 2 as a team. And if they win, it looks like, wow, they must be better than both players together. But in reality, they have the advantage of not having to deal with a teamwork. They know that every other shot is their shot, and that's pretty simple, whereas the other 2 in the back are having to figure out whose ball it is. And the third way to play with 3 people is what we call in and out. And that's where one person stands in the back of the court while the other 2 play. And when that rally ends, the winner serves and the loser stands in the back of the court, and the person in the back of the court rotates in. In the old days, we played to 21 points. 2 out of 3 to 21. Win by 2. And I think even the tiebreaker was to 21 at one time. So I remember when there were 2 or 3 hour matches, and it was no longer a competition of racquetball, but an endurance test to see who had the best endurance. This club, Mel Gorham's, had 6 courts. It was one of the first clubs in San Diego County, and it had originally been a handball club, open to men. So when women started playing, there was a problem where we had to go through the men's locker room to get to courts 2 through 5. So on a normal basis, we never used courts 2 through 5. We only got to play in courts 1 and 6, which had doors that were not through the locker room. But when there were tournaments, we sometimes had to go through the men's locker room, and they would announce that a woman was coming through so the men could put their towels on. But, since then, racquetball became very popular with women, and they actually built clubs with nice locker rooms for women. At one time, there was like 50 racquetball clubs just in San Diego County, but a lot were converted, including Mel Gorham's, to offices and storage spaces, dance studios. But it looks like the game's picking up again. A lot of the kids that come through my university classes played with their parents when they were little, and so they remember it from their childhood. Racquetball is an ideal sport. It's fun, fast, and strategic, so men and women, young and old, can enjoy it. For me, racquetball is a lifetime sport. I hope to keep playing this game as long as I'm living. Look at Steve Strandemo. He's in his 60s and he's playing and teaching. He wrote 3 books on racquetball. He's considered one of the best instructors in the game. So I hope you take up the sport or keep playing the sport and you enjoy it as much as we have. Thank you so much.